son, coming to you from a camera. I just talked with a woman at Community Action for hours and told her about all these stories that I have and how they all piece together into the bigger picture of everything, how beautiful it all is. And she cried. And I got to tell her about how my dad would throw knives at the wall, and even in his fit of rage where he's mad and gone completely, who knows what we'd call it, he was still throwing knives and they'd hit. And when he skis down the mountain, he has the big eagle wings behind him, and that how he bottles everything up and no man could ever be the boss of him, and that he's the funniest man I know. He's the legend. And I told her about how all the kids would go up the chairlift, like the ascended masters say that when they come into this planet, their job is to just go from the bottom to the top in as many ways as possible. And I told them how we would build Legos. And I tell them that as I'm traveling, I'm going to turn you sideways. The camera sideways. As I'm traveling and I'm meeting all these people, and I'm picking up on everything and I'm adding it to everything that I've seen. And I keep, as an empath, I keep picking up on everything at the highest level. And I keep putting that together and piecing that with everything that I've ever seen, and really getting a feel of the character itself of these people that I meet. And I told her that there's just no one like my father. And that my father there's just something about him that's strong and caring and kind, something professional, something classic, something sleek. And the way that he would go through life taught me about humility and patience and perseverance, and how to not let what I'd call pride get the best of you. And I told him that you took on, how many police were there? Like 7. I told him 7 police, and they had trouble with you. And that you rolled the window up and hit the car going 40 in reverse. And the cops' legs like dangling in the wind like a cartoon. And they were so mad, so angry, and so jealous that they had to traumatize me in front of you. They had to go the extra mile to try to humiliate you because of how emasculated they were by your natural presence. That the way that the things that you've been through and the things that you've done, the people that you've met, the life that you've lived is so much, it glows with the fire that makes everyone that you would consider your peers jealous, and that's why they would comment on your Facebook posts about their trucks and their boats and all the things that they were doing. They'd be like, "Hey Gary, I just got this truck. I just drove by you on Canal Street, my new truck." They're saying that because they could never be you. Shut up! And I told them stories about all the different ways that I qualify to be a war chief, how I've touched enemies in battle without them knowing, how I've stolen the enemy's cars and RVs, how I've led groups of children to victory since I was very young against a world that seems designed to kill them. And the last one was recently wrestling somebody for a weapon. You had to be hand-to-hand combat wrestling somebody for a weapon, and that happened this year when somebody came at me and I had to fight him for my hatchet, and I had to throw him down and chop him up. And I chased him out screaming, just like you. I don't even have to tell you what happened. I know you already know exactly how I yelled and chased him out of the laundromat, yelling with the hatchet. So, I told her all about my stories in life and all the Irish kids and all the adventures I'd been on and all the things that I've learned. It was like the things that I said ticked open boxes that she had been too afraid to realize, and it woke her up from traumas that eventually it all came cascading in, and she realized the world she was living in, and she cried. And it was because I had this key character to that had taught me, that constantly stays with me no matter what, because I have photographic memory. This character that stays with me, that I always have, to remind me of what it's like to be a real man, humble in the face of injustice, persevering no matter what, to save his people, even if the habits might not be right, even if we are our own worst enemies. There's no, I haven't found anyone else like it. I found people that are close, but those people could never be that. They're their own thing, and they're rare. I'm talking once every 10 years. I met someone like that, just as unique, but a completely different story, and it has nothing to do with mountains. So I wanted to tell you that um, I went, as I'm driving, I always run into roads. So I'll be thinking about somebody, and then I'll pass the road, and it'll be like I'm thinking about my dad. I'll see Spear Street, and Spear Street is what Gary means, a mighty spear. And then I go down Two Brothers Drive, and I'm thinking about, my foster brother, Caleb Hayes, and I'm thinking about your brother, Tom, and Steven. And then I get on Hayes Road from Two Brothers Drive, and then I go down Hayes Road. I'm like, where's this go? And then it's this big giant meadow with a hill, and there's tons and tons of housing complexes. And I turn on that way, and that's called O'Brien Farm Road. O'Brien means hill. It means exalted, placed away from everybody else, with a high sense of authority and a shining light and a connection to the heavens. It means placed away from the average, with royalty and the highest connection to the infinite. And that's where O'Brien Meadows are. It's at Two Brothers Drive and Hayes Road, just like you were. The last time I saw you, you were at Hayes Court. And we both had Judge Hayes to get us out of our court troubles. Hayes is the Irish god of fire, like you're a Leo and I'm a Sagittarius. The fire element. The pure creative force that, if it's not balanced by air, it becomes so destructive it consumes everything. So both of your moons in Libra, my moons in in Aquarius. So we would be the perfect house for the most creative, aggressive force on the planet. And we have this high natural sense of authority. When I brought this up to her, she said, just like when I got here and you were dancing, and you're up here on this pavilion, and I was down there at the bottom of the hill, and I had to come up here to see you. Just like you were at the top of the mountain, at the very top, at the end of Hummingbird Way, all the way at the end, in the big red house, placed away from everybody with that sense of authority, way in the back, on top of the hill, overlooking all the different people that were, say, that I'd, what, like 1,000,000 times your net worth, but you were in the back, exalted, living like a king for nothing. Surrounded by the woods. When the pheasant would follow you around, when you'd wander around in circles trying to figure out how to save yourself so that you could take your son across the country, and the pheasant would follow behind you, pecking at your ankles to make sure you were still focused. Some random bird came out of the woods and followed you around for months at your ankles while the hummingbirds flew around you, and all the birds were there, the eagles. You had dogs and cats. Just alone up there by yourself. So I'd like to hope that you're real. And I'd like to hope that everyone else is aspects of us. Like when I meet the Gary that lives opposite of Hummingbird Way, and he works at the shit plant where he processes all the crap that comes out of the townspeople's assholes when they drink themselves to death, and they go and spew out all the garbage that they do that we don't have to be a part of. There's this other Gary at the opposite end, exactly where you would look when you woke up every morning from Skip's house at Hummingbird Way, and you look straight ahead at the mountain. There was another guy named Gary that processes the shit of the town. And then when you parked your RV at the bottom of the mountain, and you lived at Hayes Court, and Gary owned that RV place, and you started to call him the nickname that people gave you because you looked up to him because he was a business owner, even though your RV was in the back of his lot, exalted. And just like the girl, I was her first time, was named Garrett Shanks. And they didn't even know her name meant mighty spear and feminine. But her name is Garrett Shanks. And just like you're a Leo, her brother's name is Leo. And she's a Libra. So the Leo and the Libra, I would go visit. And I was her first time. And then the girl that I ended up with later, Chloe, when I broke up with her to go down to Miami and be with the guy descended from Alexander the Great. So it was the guy descended from Brian Baroon, the guy descended from Alexander the Great, and it was about 150 buff autistic dudes on South Beach. And now I realized I was showing them you with my own style on it. You had the fire. I was just bringing it to the people. Being born on the 11th means you get to see it at such a high level visionary scale, and being a 33 means I see it for exactly how it is, the way that the divine or the great spirit intended, without any form of ego. It's completely selfless and humble, And I learned last night, because I healed this, so the things that came to me last night made that woman cry. And then all the things that I started saying made me, it shifted to me, and I started healing myself. And I realized that being exalted and being a Sagittarius Aquarius, the Aquarius is completely detached out in the fifth dimensional, outside of this. And the 11 is the visionary, and the 33 is coming down from the highest dimension. So I have this connection. But I don't have an ego. Most of my life was overcoming suffering because I never fit in to people that had one and integrated with one. So I'm very grateful to have what other people that don't understand would call you a narcissist, because at the same time the trauma you endured gave you that humility. Whatever happened in your life that I hope I get to see later on, that made you who you are. That being able to see that, and only being able to see that in the sporadic moments where it was right, instead of having to live with you a lot, even though I know you wish that I had been there more and that you had been in my life more. The times that I got to see you were the perfect times for me, like when I met you later, and I got to when my mom gave me up, and I had just woken up, and she was telling you that she had given me up and that I was living with you now, and I came out and asked you what was happening, and I could see the two options floating in front of your spirit, and I saw you choose to tell me the truth. That you had shaped yourself as the most honest person I'd ever met in my life, because I grew up with my mom and Melissa. So you became the most honest person I know. So I'm happy that I got to see you in these different moments. And then I'd go off to go see other things. And then I'd come back to see you. I think it's called separating the wheat from the chaff. I got to see the chaff, or the wheat, whatever's better. I got to see the wheat and then go out to the chaff. And I didn't get to see the mundane, boring, monotonous stuff where I would constantly be trying to get out and go explore new things. I think I would have naturally left anyway. And when I tell people that we had just fought what could have been when I 10 years ago, one of us could have died that night. Like you had a heart attack, and you showed up a month later, and all the girls had a crush on my dad. Were you 60? Were you 60 back then? Are you 70 now? Would that make you the age Brian Boru died in your element year of the monkey in 2028? So I'm out here. I've just humbled an entire group of fat white pussies that couldn't hold a candle to you. And they came out to tell me they were the boss of me. And I showed them that they're not the boss of me. I sat down with the guy who's neighbors with the governor of Vermont. The governor of Vermont, who heard me singing my Native American, hey, I was dancing with, I pulled some branches off a tree, and I was using them because I thought I was brushing the energy off when people would look at me. But what he saw was a Native American man with long hair walking around Vermont State campus singing. And then I had to go through another cycle of dealing with tons of fat white pussies that fall too far into their authority. Old security guards that think that they're still cops and use it to bully kids. And then they find me just as far away from the woods as I can get, right in between the woods and society. And we argue. And I say things that make him cry. And he thinks about it for the rest of his life. And then I leave. And he'll never be able to see me again. Once he learns his lesson. I also, at the very end, as this couple's approaching, at the very end of the conversation, a crow came and landed right above us in this tree. And it wouldn't leave, and it was screaming at me, so I said, watch this. Come on. There we go. And you notice how all the crows have stopped? And all the birds are coming in? Do you hear them? Do you hear him calling to you? I've learned how to go. Wait. And if they were here, they get very mad and they go as fast as they can. They get out of here. Then they go find more and they try to come back. But the birds have already gotten here. You heard? You picking up what I'm putting down? So I've been talking for a long time. I talked to that woman nonstop for about 10 hours, I think. Like when you would drive me up the mountain and I would count to 1,000. I just talked and talked and talked. So I just wanted to say, man, that no matter what happens, if I'm out here and I have to deal with the robots and the aliens and whatever's coming, and China and all this stuff, and you don't, and at the end you feel like you weren't able to have a relationship with your son the way that you wanted to, I just wanted to let you know that I'm more proud of you than you can imagine, because I see you for who you are. And I see the things that you feel are controlling you. I don't see you for the decisions you make. I see you for who you are. And it's going to be a legend that I tell people that's going to be passed down for generations. I want to say the mountain lion. That the most simple thing you can do is, like, the best, once you like think about everything you could do, even if you had all the money in the world and you had all this reach and you were the king of the world, I think all you would do is go skiing and tend to a garden. Because that's what I do. That's what I would do. And I spent so long thinking about it, reaching the branches up as high as it can go, and thinking about so much, going across the country, talking to like tens of thousands of people at this point, rich, poor. I've seen a lot, and I just get to the point where the most simple thing you could do would be to go skiing and tend to a garden and love your family. So it's cool that I deal with all the overwhelming stuff, thinking about so much all at once. And I'm the 33. And then I come to the conclusion that it's better to be simple, like my dad. And you're the 3. And I'm the 11 and you're the 10. And I'm the Sagittarius, Aquarius, you're the Leo, Libra. I went through this whole thing to figure out how to be like my dad. And just to come to appreciate the father that I thought I never had. I went out looking for it and I figured it out. Like my whole life has taught me about the you that's inside of your problems. And I'm really grateful for the moments that I had where I could see you in I could see you shine, I could see you in your element. Because I haven't seen it anywhere else. So there are 7.9999999 billion people that have no idea what it's like to have you as a father. And it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best gifts that God could have given somebody. And all I think it's divine. I think it's divine timing. I hope that it went the way that it should have gone, because I would hate myself for the rest of my life because of the fact that I didn't spend more time kidnapping my family and forcing them to go out in the woods and to go into their house and get all the junk food out and get all the bad habits out and literally tie them to a tree if I had to so that they could have woken up to this earlier. But you can't control others. Unless you use wood from a holly tree. In Ireland. Today's the 10th. I'm on the fence about. I don't see any value in. Look at this. Here's your reference, brother. That's somebody's dad right there, walking around with his head to the ground, fat as fuck, twitching and stomping, cross-legged. Shut up! And he drives a nice car. And he's miserable on a Saturday. You're goddamn miserable on a Saturday, man. So look, she brought me come look at my cool coat. Fuck off. What the hell? I got my cord for my headphones stuck in my belt loop. We're doing it anyway. I want to show this. So I wanted a black bear rug that I was gonna wear to battle. I wanted a nice coat that I could wear to battle. And then at the end of it, right before my dad's birthday, just like last year, I got the car that I was able to go see you, but I can't because you lied to the police and they tried to have me imprisoned. This random woman brought me this nice coat. Check it out. Don't knock me for my vocabulary. And I got this, and I wanted a black bear rug. I got the black fern here. So it's nice as hell, man. Look at this. Who do you know that's got a coat like this, man? Who? Who? Who the fuck you know got a coat like this, bruh? Man. So, I have this nice bike. Look at this. A bunch of food and stuff. Good morning. Check it out. So now I can ride on trails. I'm thinking about going up to Morrisville because they've got this big long bike path. So I'm trying to do that. I got this nice coat. Then I have this leather jacket. I don't know if I can ride a motorcycle with this though. Yeah. You've lived in your house and around crackheads for the past 10 years. You have no idea how pathetic white America has become. You would be proud of yourself. I don't know if I got him on camera. Don't wait for me to say hello. How would you make a change? I'm on somebody else's porch. How would you make a change? I think it would be really nice. I told this woman, because she said she lives in a horrible place, and she's got all these things. She understands spirituality. She's an astral projector. She can leave her body at will. It was the first person I felt I didn't have to break down all of her barriers to get her to understand the truth. For the first time in years, I met somebody that just naturally understands. She was there with me. I didn't have to lead them to the reality. She was in the reality with me. And we fought off the crows. I called birds. I wandered just kind of out of my mind because I smoke. So my third eye's closed. So I find myself wandering and then headed towards my bad habits. And then I wake up and I was like, why was I doing that? I wandered to the back of this building. And I looked up when I snapped out of it, and directly in front of me was a deer. And the deer was just as scared as I was. We both looked up at the same time. And then I felt the deer recognize that I acknowledged that it was conscious. That deer had a mind and a heart and a life and empathy. And that deer noticed that I had the same thing. We both froze there. I went to go get food to feed it, and then it took off. Then I did a live stream where I tried to channel energies, and I saw a bunch of fairies in the woods. Then this woman showed up here and parked there. And then the birds, all the places that wasn't filled by animals or fairies or mythological beasts in my mind, the birds filled up. So we had a whole circle blocking us when we sat and talked. I told her about how in Burlington, Vermont, all the names are named after our family members. And that the guy that was standing with me when I was on acid at the Hermitage Club that night has come into my life several times last year to help me against police officers that abuse their power and they're stuck in the Stanford prison experiment. Fat white pride and the fact that they are not cool enough to talk to the college girls, so they have to figure out how to restructure themselves so that the girls like them. And that it turns into falling way too far to their ego and attacking homeless people. And when they would come for me, and I would be surrounded on all sides, this guy would come up, this big African man would come up, African and Irish, like my name, Casey. And he would come up and he would push them all out of the way with what he said. And he's born the same day as your daughter, Danielle, which is the same birthday as Andrew Tate. And when I met him, to get to where I met him, you have to go up St. George Road, and his name is George. Then you have to turn onto Marshall Avenue. Then you have to go to Harvest Lane, and you have to go up a big hill. And then there's the parking lot that I stayed at when I met Epic Mealtime. And I would go beyond that, I'd go further up the hill, and I built a compound for myself to work out in 2022. And then I would sit with the birds, sing my songs, and then I would come in and I would go through the Walmart dealing with all of this that we're seeing, all the problems that gave you the trauma and the issues that you feel like you're suffering because you weren't made to be in this environment. We're made to change it. And we all have different ways of doing it. I just trigger their ego. I trigger their pride and then watch them walk like robots. Because they could never do what I do naturally. Look at him. Watch him squirm trying to deal with it. Head up, chest out. Fully white pride, no heart at all. That's one man that just got Casey'd. That reference experiences with him for the rest of his time, and he's going to have to make a decision on what he wants to do with it now that he knows that the truth is sitting right here. Now watch him go out in public and get humbled. Cannibalized by his own culture. Cernanos! The fat guy's right here listening. Thank my bloodline. My dick is huge. Isn't it weird that my manager was named Tom? And right before I left to go see you, the last person I spoke to that night, 10 years ago, was Tom. And he was stuck in the back room. Big guy, big Irish guy. In the back room with all the plates. And he was angry at nothing, walking around in circles, yelling at nothing. And I walked in, I opened the door, and I was like, "You okay?" And he went. And he couldn't form words. And I was like, "Have a good night. I'm going home." And I left. And then on the way out, Cheap Trick and I passed. And I felt like with my natural sense of empathy, I now can just look in and remember what it's like to feel like a rock star that spent their whole life partying and then was doing their last coup de grace to a bunch of rich people. So yeah, that's all it is. Because even the kids have the problem. The kids have the same issues of their bad parents. And they don't have any idea that it's even wrong because all they have is Instagram. How would you make a change? Would you beat the fuck out of them? Beat the fuck out of them so they learned? And then when every time they try to get up, you just punch them in the face until they start to act right. Because my kids would never. My kids will be raking leaves in the woods, and they'll be raising my dogs, and they'll be raising the cattle. They'll be riding horses. They'll be shooting bows. They'll be shooting BB guns. And then they'll learn when they're born how to turn the crows off. And then when they get snippy with you, a dragonfly just landed next to the phone, going right to left. So I have no way to show you, but I wanted to give you your birthday present. Sorry, I'm on the battlefield now, so the ego is heavier because I'm disintegrating white pride with my mind. You feel me? So this is what I got you, man. It's a cane, and it's the black and gold, like the armor that Brian Boru went to battle with when he was 73, riding a horse, killing Vikings, rampaging. At 73, when people would live to be 50. So right now it's helping me because I'll walk until I have blisters on my feet, and then I can't move anymore, and then I still have to go. So I have blisters, so it's helping me right now. I'm probably going to get out of this place and go to a better place where there's more forest. I want to get closer to Mount Mansfield. I heard there's a doorway has opened up for me. And I see more fun things I can be doing around better people. So I'm going to try to do that. But you know me. Can everybody say, happy birthday, Gary, the legend O'Brien? Can people say happy birthday, Gary, the legend O'Brien? One time in the chat. Let me get a W, Gary, in the chat, guys. Let me get a W in the chat, guys. W in the chat for Gary, the legend O'Brien. It's his birthday. He's the coolest cat in the kingdom. He's somebody that the wealthiest people on earth wanted to be around. And he taught their kids how to ski. He'd ride them up the chairlift telling jokes. He went to Hawaii and he fucked somebody's girlfriend on the beach. And then he sold vacuums that had rainbows in them. The logo design. So he said he sold rainbows as the sun is coming over the trees and right in my face. He fell for Nigerian print scams on the internet, but he used his retirement money to get an RV. And he moved that RV to a really, really wealthy neighborhood, and he got to live out in the woods
tons of animals. Tons of different animals that all were around him every morning when he sat there alone. I'd like to think every day he woke up, he thought about trying to find a way to save the world. But in the most simple version, trying to provide a good experience for his son. Let me get a happy birthday, Gary the Legend O'Brien in the chat. Happy birthday, Gary the Legend O'Brien, guys. We're going to smoke my last cigarette until I need another one. Where the fuck are my smokes? Did you take my smokes? It was under my coat. Can you shut up? Bothersome crows all day. The crows keep me on my toes. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. My dad once brought me to a bank, and the girl that took my virginity was at the bank. She was talking through the thing, and my dad flirted with her over the speaker, and then he went in and talked to her. My dad went in and had a flirty, charismatic interaction with my first girlfriend as an old man, and we sat. Going to all messages. There's more than enough evidence that I can turn crows off with my mind. I can assert my territory with my mind. Oh, my dad and I also have polar bear stuffed animals that we've had for a long time that we both just put on our dashboard. Turns out polar bears and all bears came from Ireland. All the biggest animals in the world came from Africa and Ireland. And these polar bears, when they eventually migrated to where they are now, and the Native Americans would meet them for the first time, and they would sit in their igloos. They said when their soul, because all they did was talk like this all day. They would go back and forth. They had no entertainment, no internet. So who knows what they could do in their mind, in their imagination, in the quantum space, the astral realm. And they would say when a soul had learned everything that it needed to learn and it was ready for the next phase of its life, the polar bear would come in and it would guide it and take it to the next stage. The polar bear's spirit would communicate with it through its 100-mile territory, and it would put him on to the next stage in life. Much like my father took kids on a chairlift and brought them up and then brought them down. You feel me? Should we go call a bunch of girls on Monkey Fat? Should we go call a bunch of girls on Monkey Fat and tell them that they need to lay off the donuts? Should we go live stream these evil police officers and show the world how stupid and crazy they've become? Right now, I've shown them how stupid white people are and how stuck in pride and twitchy they've become because they just can't let it go. They just can't let it go. No matter how cool it is to be in the real world. Or should I just go ride my bike on the trail and get some rest? I've got YouTube videos I need to watch, man. I'm seeing a bunch of my ancestors celebrating in heaven. I saw them come in like a wave from this, around this Masonic temple from the sun, and come around like this. And then I saw a bunch of people celebrating and happy for me. For us. For me and my dad. This whole channel was to get money to buy an RV so that I could take him across the country. And then it was to get land so that I had a place that all these people that I meet, the needles in the haystack, just like Haystack Mountain was the mountain that we were on. I could pick them up and put them in this content farm, this literal farm in the mountains, this ranch in the woods, that we could have content, we could have hot tub streams, make it the most fun place in New England, that all the pretty girls from all these small towns would want to come over and ride their horses up to ride on my trails. And my dad would have his own place in the back, exalted, with his cats. So that's why I did it. And also I wanted to help people along the way. Because I know a lot of stuff from a lot of people that you usually have to pay like 10 grand for an hour to talk to. I went out and learned the stuff that they know. So I tried to give that to people. I don't think people really deserve it. You feel me? The first step is to just lose all the weight. You can't really take anything else in until you lose the weight, and people aren't ready for that. The power would have to go out. It's crazy. They'd have to flood a state for like 2 years just to make people sit without the power for a couple hours at a time. And the ones that really won't get it are getting a tornado. That town that got destroyed by a tornado in New England was the worst town I'd been to so far, with the meanest people. White pride had taken them over completely. They were just rampaging in the streets, passive-aggressively trying to dominate each other. And they would all target the homeless people and the black people. I can't imagine what they would do if a Native American came in with a headdress and no clothes. And they got ravaged by a tornado. So I'm excited to see what happens, man. Trenchcoat mob. I'm the Irishman in the flesh. I'm like the Irishman if he was a Native American war chief and an ancient Celtic god incarnate that probably spent many lifetimes going to war for his people. But that's just me, man. That's me on 2 days of no sleep, in a storm, sleeping outside. And I already talked for 12 hours. And I'm surrounded by robots in the Matrix. There's one right there. He thinks I don't see him through the trees, but he wants to hear what I have to say. So he disrupted his whole day to just come stand here behind a tree. Unless he's an NPC in the Matrix trying to demi-urge my life force out of me, and that's why I'm starting to get tired. Ah! You're on thin ice, buddy. What should I do today? There we go. He couldn't even spell it right. Keep jerking off. Maybe one day, your dad will be proud of you. My dude, I like a girl. She might be with the devil. Can I change her under my wing, or is it a lost cause? Are you in a position that you could do anything for somebody else? Are all your problems fixed and that you're financially well off that you could take somebody else with you under your wing at all? Are you able to provide her an amazing experience? And that's not like a date to an arcade. I mean, can you really go out of the way? Are you a respected member of your community? Are you happy with yourself in the mirror? Are you making consistent progress with hope and ambition? Do you have a daily routine and set of practices that are guiding you towards a better future? Are you structured and sound in your life that no matter what happens to you, you're going to be able to get what you want out of life? Are you ambitious? Because if you can't change yourself, how would you expect to do anything for anybody else? How lucky could one guy be? As a fellow once said, ain't that a kick in the head? There's the guy I was talking about earlier. The guy from Burlington that I mentioned earlier, George, he just drove by in Montpelier on a Saturday. I know what his car is. I know the antenna that he has. I know the bumper sticker. Why is he here? I brought him up 3 times today. No problem, bro. I hope you do push-ups every day. I hope you get out in nature. I hope you fast to utilize ketosis, autophagy, and apoptosis to take out all the damaged disease, parasites, and cancer in your body, because your body will eat it as food when it doesn't have sugar. Then when you get through all the grogginess of the addiction to sugar, because it's a drug made to keep us enslaved and unaware of reality around us so that they can control us. Which makes us angry, right? When you realize that. Then you can start to have like a little vision board and write down every day your goals and slowly identify the things that you want from life and how to get there, and have a structured path that no matter how you feel, it's just right out in front of you, so you know you have to do it. And then as you build that discipline, I hope you go out in nature more, so that everything that you do becomes more powerful, and the energy that you house when you make these good decisions affects everyone in your family and everyone that you know and everyone in your apartment complex and everyone that you pass down the street. Because karma is the smell that you emanate. It's how you treat yourself. It's the decisions you make. It's how you talk to God. You feel me? So if life is going shit for you, maybe try giving yourself the love that you're yearning for in this woman. What helped me in my daily routine was to eliminate everything. Like, back in the day, it would be really, really hard for me to get up in the morning and do push-ups. Fast forward years later, I fought for my life several times. I've lived outside through winters with no food and no support, where I would be like shooed away like a pest and I'd have to eat it out of the dumpster with the raccoons. And then I'd be so depressed I passed out on the ground and fell in love with sleeping on the ground, because that was the only place I felt safe, was in the grass or on the concrete in a safe place at nighttime by myself. And then when I got to that point, it became so easy and it became so much better for me to do push-ups, because I loved how I would be conquering all this stuff that was going on in my head. And I would be able to feel good with that grounded sense of everything. So now when I do push-ups, everything that I do is more exponentially beautiful. So I would say, if you're not ready to do all that, to throw yourself into the pit, I would say to challenge yourself and to do things that are very difficult. Chasing a dream. Or at least, I would say that the best way to start, from somebody that would take it all on and then would try to do it all at once, the best way to start is to let go of everything and then start simple. Making small little changes and then focusing on those small little changes with consistency and then adding more onto it. I made a lot of progress when I just changed it all at once. I just handled all my problems. I structured them out and I banged them out every day. I knew that I had to do this. I knew I had to do push-ups. I knew I had to get the right supplements. I knew I had to get sunlight. I knew I had to get sleep. I knew I had to shower. I knew I had to learn skills that were valuable to others. I learned that I'm in charge of everything in my life, so the relationships that I have with people that I don't like how the relationships are, it's my duty to change it. Taking full control over everything, including other people's opinions and feelings. And I made a lot of progress with that. But I'm finding there's more substance in what I'm doing now, which would seem like the bare minimum to people, like it's just getting up and doing push-ups. But I found when I did the first thing before, when I would go all out and overexert myself, I'd often fall off and then fall into the reverse, where that same determination would become determination with self-sabotage. My same self-sabotaging behaviors. When I overexerted myself like that, I now overindulged myself later. But with these small, consistent changes, when I do the wrong thing, it's not that big a deal, because I know I'm slowly working towards it. And that allows me, because I'm not overwhelming myself, that allows me to put all that mental effort into what I'm doing in the moment. Which makes the push-ups a lot better, and I have a way better mind-muscle connection, which means that I'm getting more out of each push-up, and I'm enjoying every moment more. And I'm allowing myself to free up my mental bandwidth by eliminating my responsibilities, and that what I felt were obligations. Because when I detach from the outcome, and I focus only on making the small habits, it seems like I see way more opportunities than if I had just held on to everything that I wanted and fought for it. But I've done both. So if that helped, the best way for just a morning routine is it's just to do it. And the more you suffer, the more you grow as a person, and it becomes easier. Like, I used to be afraid to get from my bed to the fridge because I would have panic attacks because I'd be freaking out about the simulation. And then fast forward, I can guarantee you, like after everything that I've been through, I could walk 20 miles up to Mount Mansfield right now if I wanted without stopping, and I would sing the entire time and I would be happy to do it. It would feel amazing. Every time I broke through another mile, I'd get more inspired and more invigorated because of how much I fought. So I could keep bothering these white people. I could be be making a change in the Matrix on the 10 day. But when I said I didn't want to challenge him, somebody else did. But this is more for this guy that's sitting over here. Let's get him on camera. It's hard to see him. He's standing right behind this listening. He's fat as fuck. His wife must hate him. His kids are unimpressed by his giant beer belly. So I'm going to the public trail to go sit. And I would walk that 20 miles with blisters on my feet where I couldn't move my toes without it hurting. You heard me? Because I've been through worse. It doesn't bother me as much. I mean, I'm at a point now it doesn't bother me at all. Because I can just make it stop bothering me. What he said. You have a brain injury? So the next person that asks me a thing is talking about his own brain injury. He's not asking for advice. He's just saying, I keep it pushing. Good for you, brother. That was it, man. I need to go so I can get back to focusing and come back to being authentic. And then I'm gonna write songs all day. I have to climb. So I'm telling you, I have blisters on my feet right now. But it keeps me grounded. Oh, literally. I fell. I fell. Ugh. Let's sit with the slugs for a sec. It's very dramatic. Watch this. Bam. Just because I didn't want to keep reading it. They still got triggered as soon as my presence entered the space. And now, even though they were having a nice conversation, their heads back up to being white pride. Watch, I'll show you. Hold up. Like this. And then we have the park. We do a rotation lock. You feel me? It's about the size of a football field. It's not bad. It's just people don't know how to mind their own business. They're deluded and brainwashed. White pride and privilege has ruined their life. Their kids would be ashamed of them. They have no sense of natural masculinity. I could beat all of them up in a fight. My 70-year-old dad could beat the fuck out of him. I hate how pretentious they are. I think no matter how much they pretend that they care, they would do exactly what the colonizers did to the Indians as soon as they felt a little bit uncomfortable. because it's white pride. And it's only going to be around for another 10 years max. And if it's not, I'll come back for you. So there we go. I just threatened a civilian because I didn't like the way he at me. Watch him call the cops. I'm not afraid of him anymore. I'm coming for you and your mother, bitch. I'm coming for your mother and your mother. Now let me go rest. Yeah, that guy he was so fucking nosy. And he did the twitching. Where you think they're a normal person and then they stop and twitch right in front of your face. Why? Because they're gay robots. They not like us. They're not like us. We make threats all day, Hector. Don't be a beta. You're banned. Yeah, I healed my brain injury. I would walk 10 miles on the track. I would get sunlight. I took omega-3s, which is what your brain's made out of. I'd spend a lot of time walking in the woods. I would write all my memories down. I would practice recalling information at nighttime. I would read a lot of books. I would go out and practice talking to cashiers at the gas station first. Then when I was good enough, I went on legendary missions across the country to learn the real skills to fix my brain injury. So I went to a neuroscientist's office. Turns out she works for the CIA. And she taught me about quantum mechanics. So it's just rest, breathing, sunlight, fast ketosis, autophagy, apoptosis, probiotics. And then it's hard work with delusional determination. And then you're at that part. And then you just keep it pushing until you start winning so much and you suffer so much. You gain the humility to value the other person. And that's why white America is fucked up. They haven't reached that level yet because of their privilege. They haven't reached the point that they've suffered enough to view the other person as an extension of themselves. Like namaste, the divine in me, recognize the divine in you. These guys don't realize it, and if they do realize it, they're trying to use it to their advantage. So this is, I'm not going to show you my dick, but this is where I take a shit. Haha. That's my actual shit, guys. I come out here because the security guard comes here, and he consistently has to either avoid it, clean it, or step in it. And this is a public trail, so they can't stop me. Because they were mean to me. They were big, rude guys that tried to take away my peace of mind to make themselves feel better about their miserable, meaningless lives. So I pray I have the opportunity to get the woman in front of them, which they're too old to ever do now. And they probably are too lazy to even try. So all this work that they did to try to become the better, higher status guy by bullying me will be humbled by the fact that they're too afraid to go inside and make a change. Look at this painting. You can't tell, but that's a really nice one, actually. So yeah, if I took over the world, or at least if I took over the town, we'd have an electric bike station so that these crackheads that bully people all day, trying to steal all the energy because they're deluded by their drug habits and their ruined biology. That's they just emotionally abusing everyone. I'm kind of happy because I think white America deserves it. But I would also put an electric bike station so that once they've suffered enough that they understand the fight that we're in, instead of being detrimental, they would become more competent than the average white American, the suburban. So not only would they have suffered and had to deal with addiction, humility, loss, and all this, then they would they would work out their way back into freedom, and they would become shining lights in the community. Just like when God said the meek will inherit the earth, and the man who has the sword that knows to keep it sheathed inherits the earth. So either way, I want to get buff, get money, have a gun on my hip, and then just wait for the right moment and beat the fuck out of all of them. Thank you for watching.